Welcome, everyone. Shasta Weishampel here. I'm with Lightning OS. We're bringing the No Limits podcast with the number one door-to-door guy himself, Mr. Sam Taggart.
Super excited to be here, man. This is exciting. So, one of the things I find interesting about you is you moved to California, 23 years old. You set out with this mission. You realized you had money, but that wasn't really all making you happy. And then you decide to kind of go on this mission to say, let's go change how education is done. Where did that whole root of almost I don't want to call it animosity or recognizing school systems were broke. You had ADD growing up. They kept trying to pump you through a lateral, which I think a lot of people on here probably could almost relate to. And then you actually did something about it. So tell us about this journey of Oregon and your retreat center and how you kind of passionately pressed down that for a chapter of your life.
Yeah, I think that a lot of us, like you said, can relate to the ADD, ADHD label. And actually, I think it's a superpower. I think that it's not a disorder. It's not a disability. It's something that we can lean into and celebrate. So if somebody labeled you or any one of us ADD, ADHD, then I would just really try to figure out, well, hey, how can I leverage this gift to create positive impact in my life and those that are around me? And so whenever I started finding more freedom through financial independence, I started asking bigger questions. And those bigger questions led me to what is still today my purpose is to redefine the word school and to create education systems, education programs, platforms, and environments to support people in self-discovery and harnessing the power of you.
I think it's powerful. And I think that
Yeah.
kind of led you into door to door eventually because,
Mhm.
I think a lot of people maybe have a similar mission where they're sitting there going, I want to do bigger things. I want to help more people. But it's almost like they wanna skip the whole, interim of, "Well, how do I get there?" Right? And there's the grind of, "Okay, we've gotta enroll people. We have to have economics. We have to, have the right places and peoples and systems to fall into place for that to happen." And you said on the journey, tell us about the Oregon Retreat Center play that I think was kind of interesting.
Sure. So I found my dream, I found my why, and I ran, man on fire, going for it. And so we created a free resource education center. We didn't have a land, we didn't have a spot. So we just took over the city park in Eugene, Oregon. First Mount Shasta, actually, where my grandmother's from. That's where I get the name from.
Cool.
But we built a village in the middle of the city park, and the mayor showed up. And I got a picture of her. She almost slipped away, but I got a picture of her right there under our bamboo kitchen. So I got to Eugene, harvested about 200 stalks of bamboo, harvested 19 lodgepole pines, brought all kinds of goods, including our school bus and a bunch of paint donated from Sherman Williams or something. And we did this collaborative art project on the bus. You might remember Billy Corgan and the Smashing Pumpkins and the Today's the Greatest. So we did something fun like that, but we built a village. We served the people. We education, food, community, connection, and I made a choice that we were going to get the land, and somehow, when we make a decision, life has its way to work out. And so, literally, from one of the girls that were really inspired and on fire for what we were doing and what we were bringing to Eugene, what we were bringing to the world, she said, "I want to help." She made a couple connections. One of those connections happened to be a 15-year-old, I mean, 15 years, we've been close friends right now.
Yeah.
And we had met Mount Shasta at our first event. He had heard about me, he seen what we were doing, he was participating. He had a 7-acre plot of land on the river, and she said, "Yeah, this guy showed up to Eugene, he built this thing in the park. Uh, he has this vision for a new school, a village school for children and families and youth to inspire and empower young people to create projects to change the world. And he's looking for land to build this thing." And he said, "Is that Shasta?" He said, "Yeah." She said, "He can have on my land."
That
So
is a
so
lot.
literally we moved on the land. We built like this village with 5 teepees and built some structures and some kitchens and some it was awesome. And so it's time to level up. So I made a big decision that we were going to find the bigger piece of land, that we were gonna build a pilot project that was going to self duplicate or replicate throughout the world. And called a real estate friend of mine, told her what we were looking for, and she said, "Good luck. You're never gonna find what you're looking for here in, Lane County, Oregon." And I said, "Well, just poke around, see what you find." She called me the next day, found the perfect piece of land. We went to tour the property. By the end of the day, we all knew that these people, this married couple, was gonna donate this multiple $1,000,000 conference and retreat center to my organization, and they did. And we built something really special, and, yeah.
That's so cool. I think that's like a testament of like not only manifestation, but just like you get something and you get enough people to rally behind it, you get enough momentum in the universe. It's like almost like, hey, these things are going in our favor. But I think there's an also a side of the story that a lot of times we don't like to tell, which is like that some things come to end. You know what I mean? Sometimes you take a pivot and a chapter turn, and there's a lot of people that have gotten into sales or started a business because of those life chapter turns, right? It's like got hit in the face, caused me to pivot, caused me to move, whether that's divorce, whether that's your business shuts down. So kind of walk me through you transitioned out of that.
Yep.
Wasn't easy, I'm assuming.
Never is.
Never is. And I think people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna do big things in life," and it's all gonna be perfect and easy. And then you eventually are like, "Well, I'm gonna start a fiber company." And where did that kinda swift move?
Sure, well, so I relocated. I was living in Hawaii on the beach.
Not a bad place.
I was planting fruit trees for a living, and, life was good, but it wasn't connected to my purpose, and so I was ready to start something up again. I realized that in order to actually create what I came here to create, Sam, that I was gonna have to be an independently wealthy individual, and so I reached out to an old friend of mine, Mr. Bruce Perlowin. He's got an interesting history and, pitched him uh, on a microgreen business plan. He brought me to Vegas close to his village because he's a village builder too. And I was out walking my normal nightly sunset route, and I met these 2 individuals, young lady, gentleman, and they were knocking doors. And I'm just friendly and I'm curious, and I just sparked a conversation with them. They gave me their pitch, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I want that, and go ahead and sign me up, and bring that fiber connection as fast as you can get it."
Yeah.
And so and ever since that moment, life was better. Internet's kind of important, right? And so I realized that there was this big infrastructure upgrade that was happening, and I wanted to be a part of it. Because for me, it's like, "Hey, so we're here to bring more light in the world, right?" And with fiber internet, we're actually connecting a physical light grid. And that really felt cool. But the cooler part about it was I realized that I could give opportunity to help empower young people again
Yeah.
to take more control of their life by increasing their financial wellness.
Which is, like,
Yeah.
hard because there's not enough vehicles out there. You're over here planting fruit trees. You know what I mean? It's, like, cool, and you probably had a peaceful sunset walk every night, but then you also realize I think the big awakening here is, like, nobody's gonna save you except you. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, if everybody walks out there and says, "I want a boat," or we're sitting here about to go on a yacht tonight, right? And it's like, "I want a yacht." But I wanna be invited on a yacht, or I want my yacht that I bought, that I worked hard for, and I invite my friends on. You know what I mean? Those
I heard you got a yacht.
I got 2 right now, actually. Trying to sell 1.
Well, you might have a buyer. We got to talk later.
We can, but no, but, like, that's the point. Like, when I bought my first boat, it was to invite community, family. Like, I was like I never got invited to Lake Powell, and I'm like, "You know, Lake Powell's the best, and if I have a boat there, then I can bring and host masterminds, and I can, like, invite people down, and for the last 10 years I've had it, 2, 3 times a year, I do epic experiences there, you know what I mean? And, like, "Hey, you wanna take your company down? We'll take your company down. I'm taking a pest control guy this year and a solar company, and you know what I mean? It's just like, "Hey, let me host your company," you know what I mean? Or, "Let me host this mastermind there," or but it's like, I was able to host because I had the wealth and the wherewithal and that took action, and I think that that shift in your life is where you said, "Okay, like, I gotta be a man now, like, I gotta start to learn how to provide." And now you're like, I'm a steward over several, hundreds of reps, right? Like, you've got 60 come in, 60 there, you know what I mean? Like, where it's like, shoot, they're all looking to you now. Well, how do you deal with that pressure? How do you deal with that, like, "Oh, crap, I'm, like, stewarding this new mission that's moving."
Well, thankfully, I have some experience in building community, and you got a lot, and I'm learning a lot from you, Sam. So and your team and everything that you build over here. So, you know, if you're feeling pressure and overwhelm, which is natural, like you're building big business and you're responsible for all these people and their families and their overall success, then that can feel like a weight, right? And so we want to reach out. You can find whatever help we can get, right? So that's what brings us together is because I know that over the past decade, you've poured your heart and your soul into building this community, building this company, door to door experts. And what better what better group of people to learn from than the door to door experts themselves?
Well, I think it's like, and I appreciate that first. And second, though, like, what people aren't hearing sometimes when people say that is, like, you were open for willing and able to ask for help. Does that make sense? And invest in help. Like, there's this element of, I need to invest, I need to show up, I need to ask, I need to say, "I'll sit right next to you and pick your brain." And I think too many people think that there's nobody out there that wants to help them. They think that if I ask for help, I'm not enough. And it's like, well, that's just your ego getting in the way from your progress. And I love that you said that. And it's like, guys, there's always going to be one person one step ahead of you that you could reach out to and say, dude, tell me how to avoid all the mistakes. Or you could try to do this on your own and it becomes even more burdensome. And so it's like something I'm passionate about and still do is I literally have a meeting with a counselor on Monday. I called yesterday and I said, "Hey, I need your help. My brother recommended you." You know what I mean? Like, and he's like, "Oh, okay. When can you meet?" I was like, "Can you meet Monday?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Can you meet Monday?" He's like, "Damn, you're persistent." It's like, "I need help." You know what I mean? And I think too much ego is getting in the way of this. So I want to shift gears though, because I think, whether you're a rep, you're a business owner, you're a manager, whatever. I mean, guys, look how beautiful this is. If you're watching this somewhere, we are here in Tampa Bay, literally looking over the bay, at our Circle Mastermind, and you know, almost like practicing abundance, going on a yacht tonight that Mike O'Donnell in our mastermind owns. And he, over 7 years, had a vision to say, I'm going to eventually own a yacht. I'm going to eventually da da da. And he's now doing it. You know what I mean? So one of the things that you're not like chasing a yacht, which I think some people chase that and some people chase something else. What I think is cool about what you've done is you've not only put sustainability through software into fiber, which I think was antiquated. When I looked at the fiber industry a year or two ago when it was starting to take off, the clunkiness of ISPs connecting to actual software was just a nightmare.
Still is.
And it still is. And so you said, "Hey, in order for this to be scalable nationally, it can't we can't do it without a system."
Yeah.
So you created Lightning OS in the sense of, I didn't name my fiber company, Lion Fiber. I named it Operating System.
Yeah.
So what made you take the approach of not only just so I'm gonna actually go twofold with this question. The first one is there's an approach of the system, and we'll come back to that. But the second piece that I want to start with is you said we have a bigger mission than just making commission. And I think if your mission's bigger than commission, there's sustainability to it. Where I think people jump from fiber company to fiber company looking for more territories, or they go from industry or job to job, is because their commission is outweighing the mission, and then they end up in this hamster wheel, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what thesis or for purpose or mission you said, I'm going to use fiber as a tool for a greater mission. Tell us about that, and then we're going to talk about how you back it up with actual system.
When people are offered a vehicle for financial health and wellness, then lives change. And so when I started knocking doors for fiber internet, I sold 7 my first day, 10 almost every other day after that. And if I didn't sell 10, I sold 14 to make up for it. And
Yeah.
60 or 70 week over week. A man on a mission needs financial backing in order to create dreams for ourselves, for our families, for others. And I I built a small team around me, and I seen a cap, right? So the fiber industry was so much bigger than one company that we were currently knocking and selling for. And so that was the first thing. Second thing I seen whenever I started going out into the bigger fiber space, that there were the same problems over and over and over and over again. And what that created was a limit, a cap. I knew that I could only bring in so many reps before I was just going to go crazy. And so rather than, to try to stay competitive with some of my friends that were also in the fiber space and in the door-to-door space for much longer than me, and their rocket ship was taking off, and they were grabbing these hundreds of reps and selling all these accounts and putting these new contracts in the bucket with ISPs, I was focused on building infrastructure. So while others were chasing fiber and commissions, I was busy on the back end building infrastructure. And now some of those companies are now signing under our contracts with ISPs because we've solved the problems industry wide with software solutions. And so I'm really excited about what we have, Sam.
It's
And I,
cool.
and
No, I think it's really cool. I think it's like you did take the foundation route first versus chase route second. But I think on top of that, you also took an approach where not only are you like tell us about these tokens, right? So you said, okay, let's almost like charitably bring for purpose into this. So obviously you kind of ran a nonprofit, so you realized the stress of if I can't have profit, then I can't run a business, and then I can't technically give more value to anybody. So I think the nonprofit world is upside down. So I always tell people I'm like, run a for purpose business, meaning your business has a purpose that's beyond money. And so how are you making a difference by not just giving people faster internet, saving them money, but like what else are you incorporating into that?
yeah, so when I was in the nonprofit sector, I had realized that marketing is still everything, right? You have to sell yourself. You have to sell your dream if you want to enroll other people into it. And so obviously it's a big dream to help inspire and empower people to think bigger and change the world. So I wanted to just encapsulate the mission, the vision of my nonprofit and be able to offer that to the world. And it looked like a 2-minute experience. I knew if I could give the world a 2-minute experience to get a chance to interact with what we were doing, that I had a chance at earning their attention, and their enrollment into the cause, what we were up to. And so it was this game. I called it Play It Forward. You spun this big artistic wheel. You landed on one of these, categories. You chose from one of the bags of which consisted of these tokens and had the name of the game, Play It Forward on one side, and it had on the other side, it had a random or a simple act of kindness. And so the idea was you get this token, you do something nice for somebody, which just feels good. Like it feels good to actually go out and just do something random and nice, right? It feels good to the person that you're doing it for. It feels good to you for giving a gift of kindness. And and we're inherently designed to connect and to give and to serve. It's how like this whole entire universe operates. It's this give and receive and this endless flow of abundance, and there is no limits. So I realized that that same marketing uh, method could be brought into the for-profit business as well, while accomplishing the same human connection, kindness elements. And it looks like, are you ready for it?
I'm ready, dude. I'm ready. Show us kind of how it works.
It's 1 million fiber homes, right? So that's the initiative. And our goal is to put 1 million fiber homes on the map by the end of 2027. And so upgrading America's internet infrastructure is important for us. That's what we do best, right? And so it's important for any country to have a great internet infrastructure. Internet's runs almost every aspect of our life in today's world. So, uh, so imagine when I come and I knock your door, Sam, I have a gift for you instead of I'm the sales guy trying to sell you something, right? I'm not gonna lie. I'm here to sell you on a dream, which is going to solve whatever internet problems that you have today, but in a unique way to say, we've got a token here. I got one here for you. So I'm Shasta. I'm out here with X Fiber Company. We partnered with Lightning OS to upgrade America's internet infrastructure. Now, the unique thing about what we're doing is we're not just offering free fiber installations for anyone who wants to take advantage of that while the trucks and the crews are in the neighborhood, but we're also leaving you with a gift, and it's $100. And after the completion of your installation, then you'll get a link to activate your $100 Visa cash card. And we're not just out here giving away money just to give away money. We're giving away money on purpose, with purpose, because when we accomplish our goal of 100, or excuse me, when we accomplish our goal of 1 million fiber homes, then we would effectively given $100 million to the people. And together as a people, we will have also given $100 million in a historic charitable donation. So every fiber connection is going to put another $100 on the board for a nonprofit.
Sick. So, like, let me break this down for everybody. First off, psychologically, he's knocking saying, I want to give you something. Instead of most people are like, I want to take from you, even though they're transactionally trying to sell. Second, people all like money. So they're like, I get $100, sick. Third, people all feel good when they give something else. So if there's a good systematic way to explain to them where that money's going, because every $100 you get matches $100 to a charity. And number four is you have a super clear mission of we want to do 1 million fiber homes. And I think that the problem when people start a business, and I think this is actually even more important than all three of those combined, because when they start a business, they say, I'm going to be a roofer. I'm going to be a solar guy. I'm going to launch a pest control company, right? Where are you going? Like, what are you accomplishing? Where are we taking this? Does that make sense? And it's hard to enroll somebody when there's no thermometer saying, hey, we're halfway there. When you hit that 500,000 mark, you're going to be like, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be this like,
A big party.
yeah, there's going to be some party. There's going to be like, we're halfway there. We're a quarter of the way there. Like, whatever thing, right? Because you know where you're going. But most people, when I sit there and I say, where are you going with this business and why does it exist? They're like, I'm like, no, but like, why? And I'm like, let's just be honest. It's to provide a good living for you. You have a job, not a mission. You have an income, not a purpose. Does that make sense? And I think even just because you have a business, it doesn't mean you actually are in business to do something. You're really just trying to get a higher commission and you just cost yourself a bunch of time and energy with a bunch of employees around you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's hard to be a part of. It's hard to say, come work here as much as you want them to, because you're like, I'm trying to make money on you and I'm trying to help you. But it kind of dies there. And so anybody listening to this, if you can kind of, learn from Shasta and or be part of Shasta or like whatever that is, or say reevaluate, okay, is it 1 million fiber homes? Is it 1 million pest control homes? Is it, you know what I mean? Is it I killed 17 trillion ants? We are, you know what I mean? We are destroying the ant population. And I focused on ants.
Pest control companies out there, we're probably going to be seeing that
Yeah,
somewhere.
something like that. Like we're on a mission here to just eliminate 1 billion ants. And for every home, we anticipate about 1 million, or whatever. So it's it's so funny how many times I've done these podcasts, right? And if you're listening at this point, interviewed a lot of people, done a lot of different type of trainings, events, and things like that. But it's like what carries somebody to continue to do things day in and day out? Does that make sense? Like, that's, like, where I think we just learned by this Carey Culture Index guy, right? The intrinsic and extrinsic motivators, right? And I want you to kinda almost share, like, how do you stay positive? How do you stay grinding? How do you get carried through kind of to just despite all the chaos as a business owner? You know what I mean? Despite all the shit that's thrown at you, you know what I mean? Do you have any hacks for that?
Yeah, I think that's an important conversation. And I think we've got to know our why, right? And so as a business owner, I care about you as a human being that's coming into my business ecosystem. And I want to know what drives you. And we want to make sure that we're reminding ourselves consistently about what's driving us, but we want to make sure that we're reminding our team,
Hmm.
And so finding the why is the first part of the journey of success, I think. Because if you're successful, then you're going to know your why probably because there's going to be a lot of hardship along the way. And if you don't know your why, then the likelihood of giving up is very real.
Okay, so I wanna challenge this for a second. This is fun. So we both talked about ADHD prior to this and how it's a superpower and how it's, we're easily able to multitask. We're easily able to hyper focus into something, right? And the problem though is what happens when you almost have Y ADHD. Does that make sense? Where like you have an idea, innovation, something comes up, you're like, dude, I want to do that now. And it almost like becomes how do you know what things are distractions and being like, that's not part of my vision versus this is in my why. And this superpower almost taming it in a way of like, yeah, but is that hyper focusing in on I got a mission. You know what I mean? How do you balance that?
Well, so Sam, I think that there's a couple things here. And the first thing is some people are going to chase one opportunity and another and another and another in connection to their why, right? And they're just bouncing around and didn't take the time and the energy to stay hyper focused on one thing. So that's one thing that we can see out there. And another thing that we can see out there is that whenever we are focused on one thing, and then there's a million and one ways that we can get to the result that we're chasing or that we're choosing, that we're targeting. And and first off, we have to be obsessed, I think, with
Mm.
what we're doing, you know? And then that really helps keep us on target. But we've got to know what our target is. And so that's why, that's why my company invests in our people to bring people to these types of environments to where we can really ask ourselves what our vision is. Tune into that. Learn different uh systems to support that. And once we have systems, then we have team. And once we have team, then now we have leverage and we have enough diversification for our team to be able to keep us ADD kids focused.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
accountable.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think
That's
there's
right.
an element of like being independent or a solopreneur, you almost have less of accountability because you're almost like able to be flippy floppy whenever you feel like it. So I think that element of like, even if it's just moving from rep to manager and having the stewardship, it's kind of like if I just keep changing and chasing my different whys, then what is going to happen to all the people below me? And I think this is where almost like managers lose their salespeople is because of their inconsistency, and business owners don't scale is because of their inconsistency. Is because if they look at that team and that leverage that they've now set apart and said, okay, pool, we're focused on this. That is almost the accountability upward too. Like you said, it's like they keeps you focused because like, wait a minute, what are we doing now? Like you're going to have me do a new job because you're already chasing something else. And I think this is like a part, because we talked about ADHD and it's like this beautiful obsession and superpower. And then it's like, but if you do not surround yourself with a team and leverage and systems, it falls apart super fast. And I think getting over that hump. So if you're just like, how do I get that? Is like, you've got to take two leaps into this thing. And like, bet on yourself almost and being like, I'm investing in the system. I'm going to invest in the people and make sure that that's almost what's going to fuel me to make it make sense. Like it'll work out now. Okay, so as we come to an end, let's go back to like door to door Shasta. That's just like I found this thing. I was like, oh my gosh, where's this been my whole life? This is amazing. What advice would you give to that? Like it sounded like you started cranking out pretty quickly. How do you help those reps that maybe don't catch on as quickly as you did? Like, what advice would you give them in their first week, 2, 3 weeks? Because it's like start a season. For some of these guys that do seasonal, like summer, it's kind of early in on that. So how do you help that individual? And if you were to go back to the first 2 weeks of your career, what advice would you give that version of you and or the person just kicking off?
Yeah, I think that to find the person in that company that's winning at the doors and go out and watch them close deals and memorize the pitch, memorize the sales processes, memorize the objections and the rebuttals, and bring that to the field. A memorized pitch changes the game. A lot of times we want to get too creative, especially for us ADD,
100%.
ADHD kids or
Like it's boring to say it the same way every time.
yeah, no, yeah, and it will become more fluid. It will become more natural. You will give your own signature to all of it, but it will stay intact. The sales process will still have the same points,
Guys, this is huge.
and it can look a little different because it's an organic conversation that we're having with people, and it should look different and it should be natural. But we should definitely know and memorize a pitch and run with that, and we're gonna see success because the person that's doing it is seeing massive success. That's why we decide to learn from it.
Love that. Love that. But Shasta, I appreciate your time here. I'm excited to build this relationship. And, guys, if you haven't checked out Lightning OS, go hit them a follow. Go watch their stuff. These guys are blowing up. Super cool to see what you're doing. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. This is a start of something new. And I just love watching people that innovate, that are trying big dreams, that are, out there hustling, not afraid to put themselves out there. And I love it. Keep it up, my man.
But yeah, brother, I'm really grateful to be here. So I brought something in to show you. You might have heard something through the grapevine, but I'm really proud of something that we've been able to recently accomplish. And did you hear about this one yet?
No.
Lightning OS made it into the Forbes Billionaire edition, the April May copy. And if you turn it towards one of the last pages, if you keep going, probably right there, and one more further.
No way. Look at that. Congrats, bro, with Grant Cardone, Uncle G.
Mhm.
Look at this.
Lightning OS is advancing fiber internet infrastructure, and we're really excited about giving fiber ISPs rocket fuel to fund their mission to
It's cool.
upgrade America's internet infrastructure.
That is so cool. Look at that, dude. Congrats, man. That's a big accomplishment to just be, like, legit featured in Forbes. Way to be, man. Way to be. Congrats, brother. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Can I keep this? I love seeing door-to-door companies freaking kick ass, right?
I've got a copy for you.
You know what I mean? That is so cool.
It's an honor to be in your presence. Like I this is the first deep dive that I've attended with the mastermind. And I'm just really impressed by everything that you've built and grown over the last decade and how your leadership style is unique and personable and your heart's gold.
Thanks, man.
And you had this statement that you made when we first really shook hands and meet it and greeted, and you said something about 2026 and generosity.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I think, like, you just do a really good job at it. Like, you know what I mean? You've inspired me actually because it's like Can I give you something? Can I give you something? Can I give you something? And it's the little things like last night we're sitting at the bar or whatever, and you just like gave the lady like $60. You're like, hey, I just want to help you out. And she just like lit up. And I'm like, I don't just carry cash around and just like give a girl $60. You know what I mean? Like, and and I noticed that about myself. And my grandpa was that way. And his name was Leonard. And I had a moment with him in December where it was just, like, very touching, and I almost, like, had an ego death of, like, "Oh my gosh, I am such a freaking, like, Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm not even thinking holidays. I'm not even thinking about Christmas presents. I'm not even thinking" you know what I mean? And I was like, "What a freaking punk." And so luckily I caught it, and I had a really generous Christmas that I was trying to just give everybody, and I started a thing kinda like this where I call them Lennies, and I'm just giving out Lennies where they're $100 in an envelope with my grandpa's face on them. And I'm like, "Hey, here's a Lenny." And it was just like finding opportunities this year to do more acts of kindness or just give $100 to somebody or just 'cause, you know what I mean? So, like, part of my tip, is like, can I tip way higher instead of just do the normal 15-20%? Or can I and so hopefully that inspires more generosity but like you said it earlier, it was like when we give something, we just feel good. You know what I mean? And the greatest thing I like to give is actually experiences and just being like, "Hey, we get to come to Tampa and we give you this," and you know what I mean? And but I think there's an opportunity for me to get better at, giving $100 when it just doesn't make sense, but it's like, "Here you go," and I'll trust that it'll come back, you know what I mean? Or, um just like you said, I wanna give you I brought extra copies. Like, I even noticed you didn't just buy 4 empanadas, you bought 6 empanadas. I was like, "Who's the extra empanadas for?" And I'm like you're like, "Whoever needs them." And I'm like, "I didn't just buy extra empanadas." Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't think, like, I'm buying extra. You didn't you thought, "Oh, I'll buy the drinks. Like, I'll get you soda, Sam, it's on my tab." Like and I think, like, money's a magnifier, and if we're not conscious about how we show up when we're broke, then when we start to make a little bit of money, and then we have a lot of money, we won't change. Does that make sense? It's just magnifying who we already were. And if we were generous when we were broke, it's the widow's mite. It's she gave more, even though it was a mite versus the rich person that donated. And he goes, good on her. Because it hurt her more. And if she had more money, she probably would have given more money.
That's right.
And that concept in the Bible is so powerful. And so, anyway, that's my
It's a
focus.
beautiful thing. I mean, life is amazing and it's a gift. This breath, this conversation, this connection.
Yep.
This is the No Limits podcast with Lightning OS. There are no limits. Sam, in one sentence, what does no limits mean to you?
I love the sentence where abundance is there, limitations are created. Meaning, like, we're the ones that create the limitation and it's already exists. Like, all opportunities exist. It's just, are you creating the limit? And anyway, so anybody that use that.
And that's a wrap. We've had a great time with Sam Taggart on the No Limits podcast with Lightning OS. And remember, there are no limits.